My name is Jeff Gomez. I am the Chief Executive Officer of Starlight Runner Entertainment. We're a New York-based production company. A way to explain transmedia storytelling is by examining how young people are learning to absorb story as the 21st century extends into the future. Young people are moving from one media platform to the next without even thinking about it. There's a kind of fluidity, a flow, a fluency with all kinds of media, all kinds of screens. The content, however, is not flowing. The content is repeating itself across different media. Transmedia storytelling is a solution that allows intellectual property, messages, themes, or storylines to flow in concert across multiple media platforms to create a rich, immersive experience for the participant. Transmedia storytelling is also distinguished because there is an architecture for dialogue. It allows for feedback from the audience so that the storyteller understands what is on the mind of the audience at all times. Well, for brands and marketing, it means accepting the inevitable, which means that, that brands have to have a much stronger sense of their narrative. When you know the story that needs to be told, when you have a fundamental sense of the essence of your brand, you can infuse it into different stories as they move across different media platforms. And the benefit to that is that now that the audience is so fractured and is moving across so many different media, and they're talking to each other through social media more and more, your brand has a greater chance of reaching the largest number of people because of this multi-platform strategy. For brands and in the marketing and advertising space, we have come through a century where the story has gotten shorter and shorter and shorter, right? As fast as you can, you have to communicate something, and usually you're interrupting somebody's experience of something else, whether it's reading a magazine, watching a television show. Now there's an ad. Now that it is becoming more and more simple to avoid advertising messages and to speak negatively about products or brands, it is more and more vital for marketers to understand the long story, the brand narrative, and how it will unfold over the course of years. Think about, again, the past century or 2 centuries, 200 years. We have been in a broadcast kind of modality. That is, a very few people are communicating to many, many thousands or millions of people. And so the message is under the control of the very few. In recent years, and this is now just starting to happen in Germany, the population, the masses, have a more and more powerful voice through social media. And so if I see something that doesn't seem right about your product or brand, I can start talking about it, and many of my friends, a dozen, 100, 1,000, will start talking about it too. And this means that our scrutiny is being broadcast. So we have power. More and more and more. In some cases, 90% of the communication is the consumer and only 10%. Completely reversed from the broadcast model, right? And so, as owners of brands and as marketers of brands, we have to take into consideration the perspective of the consumer, and we must validate and celebrate the participation of the consumer. A true key to building an audience and to increasing engagement is by in essence, taking the consumer that likes your product and somehow slowly weaving them into your brand narrative, weaving them into the mythology of your communication. When you truly acknowledge and personalize your contact with the consumer, they can become really excited because they feel that their voice is contributing to the evolution of the brand. And that person, they become a torchbearer. They become a true apostle for the brand. This is what we see with Apple products. You know, this burning love. You see it in movie fandom, Star Wars, Harry Potter, and you see it in sports and things like that. We have to do this with more and more of our products. But what we look for is the essence, the emotional, the narrative base for why this brand exists in the first place and what this brand is giving to the consumer. Often we find that that's rooted in the relationship between the visionary, the person who created the product, and the corporation, the company that's putting it out. What is that story? What is this gift that's being given? When you understand that message, it becomes the basis, the skeleton over which the campaign can be created. It makes it unique, but it also makes it authentic. Authentic doesn't cost much money. Authentic just requires courage because you have to stand by what this product means to you and ought to mean to the consumer. Then you use your normal production channels. You don't have to spend much more money. You just have to make sure that the story is being told well and in a concerted fashion that plays to the strengths of the features of the different media. Sometimes we encounter a startup that is creating some new technology or some sophisticated product, and we ask them, what is what is the story of this product, and they explain the mechanism. And we go, no. What is it enabling the consumer to do? How is it going to improve their life? And sometimes they don't even think about that because they're so lost in the design and the mechanism of the product. They don't think about what it is bringing to our lives that we can respond to on an emotional level. So we have to almost be a kind of therapist, trying to figure out what the magic is. What is the resonance between this product and the consumer? The other thing that we like to remind our clients about is that your corporation has a story too. So how is this brand or product resonant with the story of the company? When we deal with companies, very large ones or even mid-sized companies, we always find it interesting that if you ask different employees the story of the product or brand, it's very different. People have different interpretations of this fact. Okay, so there is a kind of siloed situation. People are in their own world, doing their own thing, and looking at something through their prism, their glass, which is different from the one down the hall. In both of these situations, we ask the company to unify behind a single narrative, a narrative that everybody has to believe, truly, authentically. If they don't believe it, we have to work on it because there's a problem. And if your own people feel that there is a problem, the consumer is going to feel there's a problem. Or if you're a B2B, business to business, the other business is going to perceive a problem. And the most important thing is to convince the brand owner that it is okay for negative feedback to come in through social media or other media. Most of them don't want to hear it. They feel that something negative is going to hurt the brand. If you have your story straight and you feel it is authentic, if somebody says something negative, you have the answer right away. Okay, either you're not understanding something that I'm telling you about this brand, so I'm going to clarify it for you, or you're responding to something negative by saying, you know what, that's a good point. And although it will cost us money to correct this, in time you will see that we're going to do that. You see, and that creates fierce loyalty because they're acknowledged, they're validated, and they come to your side. We're firm believers in that.